Hey all, it's E. It's aftermarket hours on Wednesday, the 6th of May. Just want to do a quick update. Haven't done one in a few days. Been kind of busy, and that's a good thing sometimes, but I like to put out a video here and there to help show what we're doing and showcase our system. Those who want to follow along and perhaps be enticed to take a look at a little more closely at what we do and how we can come up with some high odds targets and high odds reversal zones. Obviously, we don't get every single trade correctly, and we're not always positioned in them. Today was a good example where I had appointments this afternoon. I just could not be there. But I was able to help the team and come up with some ideas that I think probably helped them out, and perhaps could help you too if you're looking for a system that helps you consistently take money out of the market. Started early this morning by posting this chart. I like the idea that we had this general 92 to 94 resistance zone. No idea whether that could hold or not, or we get a flyer, as sometimes they will do, but because we were under the blue line and under the pink line, it's certainly an umbrella trade. What we look for is to stay underneath the blue line and under that slope. Even if it got above it, once it comes back under it, then it's still the umbrella trade. You can see the setup also on the 60 the same way, and the blue line was our idea of immediate aggressive resistance, and then the 98 area behind it as stops for anybody that was entering trades in this zone, anywhere above say 92 to 95 to 96. That mid zone in here, we said use 98 stops, and we left off at the 84. We had left ideas yesterday that the 92 zone should be the stop zone, resistance. Sometimes you'll get a little bit above that, but that was the general idea that we thought we could float to, and then probably would stall. And certainly back here, this high we felt was the key high. Should not be violated. If it got above that, we thought that probably low would be in and would be bouncing. So at this point, I'd already identified this 86 when I woke up. I was up early this morning, as you can see, and took a look at things, and I decided that this would be a key player in today's trading, because if that held, then we could continue a bounce, but more than likely we would want to do some range type trading after a vicious sell-off previous day. We like the idea of the 15-minute chart resistance. We looked at a 5. We also looked at the 15s and 10s and decided that we should give it a whack morning after trend day, see if we got lucky, and hopefully get ourselves back down into that 85, 86 test. Below that, the 84, obviously, the gap zone, and if we could take out the 81s, then I had a measured move target at the 78. 77, 75 in that range, and that was our primary. Wow, let's see if we can get this morning after trend day with no guarantees. Once you start down this road, who knows where the eventual low will be? Nobody. Certainly I don't, but we have measured moves and targets, and if we get one, then okay, we look to the next one. You can see how this trade played out from this blue line on the 60 we just talked at a few minutes ago. And you can see how this was just a perfect resistance. And when you get a bleeder like this with absolutely no heat, and that comes hard and fast and furious, you want to make sure you get paid once you get into the gift territory. And for us, we had the idea that okay, at 74 to 72, make sure you're paid into those targets. Third time through, here's your double, here's your third time through, and bang. So first primary target we had was once we got through the gap and take this out 78s to then that 72.5 target we posted, and 70 was a measured move, a T2 target today, and that held. That was also a support target too, based on the pivot system. So this held and eventually got a sharp snap, as is typical, but in a corrective market they can roll over. And that's what we were looking for. And here's a repeat of what we just talked about in terms of the potential targets we were looking at. T2 at 70, so primary target into this 72.5 zone. And then we wanted to think of this as a double bottom, but we thought that it would eventually cave in and turn over. We thought this was to go back and test that 81.5 that we had just broken. Turned out we got a little bit higher than that. And once you do, and they run a few stops, then you need to be cautious. But once it takes hold again and rolls over and starts down, then you want to be looking again at secondary targets and can you break that double. So this was definitely a big help, understanding that we could get a sharp bounce from that 70 that had been protected. You can read some of those texts that I put in there. Those are just copies of our chat. We obviously filter out some of our more important work so that we just don't give away the farm with all of our ideas, but we give a substantial amount of information, and as much as most people out there, I would think, to help traders understand the business a little bit better and things we key off of. This was an example right here. Yesterday's low, we were keying off of that. And when I left I had a continuing ed real estate class today. I'm a real estate broker. And so I got one of my courses done for continuing ed, and just one of those things you have to do. And so I try to schedule them in the afternoon where I can, and allow myself some time in the morning to be there and to do my thing. It's great to have extra income from other opportunities, and that way you don't press quite so much in this business. Try it. You'll like it. And it works very well with real estate because you can make your own hours and your own schedule. Anyways, this was the low, and I left instructions for the team that as long as we're under that, we're seeking support. And if we broke down, we already knew next targets. We had targets that break 68 area, and then we could get to the 64 to 63, and we thought 62 or it would probably be a buy. There was a measured move right to the 60 area, but we try not to get those last point or two. Hogs get fat, but pigs get slaughtered, and in this case, that turned out to be very true. And I got back after the appointments, and like I said here, certainly hindsight is always easy. Picture's worth 1,000 words, but you can see the areas that we had talked about in our text got hit and then some. And once we start down there, who knows exactly where. And a day like today, once we get later into the day, you want to think about a profit-taking swing. Here was from 11 o'clock. This was a solid sell all the way down here towards 3 o'clock and just before. And then you want to start to think about, well, somebody wants to get paid and we should get a bounce. How far? Who knows? But this comes back to a previous angel, and that typically is a very good idea. Once you start a bounce, go back and seek out prior support, see if that turns into resistance. And here you can see some text what we had talked about, needing to stay under that 81 and potential targets. Frank asked the question, is this the potential target? We always try to share ideas in the room as to what we think is going on and where we're headed. And we all make our own trade decisions, obviously, but we try to be on the same page with what we think has happened and try to share ideas that might be helpful with each other. And talk about bigger targets, and you can see where I'll jump in and try to keep everybody honest and say this got to come before that. That was my feeling. That had been a double a couple of times, so I wanted to see that get washed out. And this is a big measure 40 back, so I mentioned this, and then a reminder about where the year opened and our next key marker after this breaks right here. Descending triangle was my thought. And we needed to keep that 85.5 intact for this all to come together. If we stayed under that, broke the 81, stayed under, then these targets become possible, but not a guarantee. Simple as that. And the follow-up to that, we talked about magnets. We talk about stay below that, you're okay. Use this for your stop for the rest of the day. And then here's a pivot point we wanted to watch. Yesterday's low zone and then the potential targets, but this is the normal support 2, and that's where we came within 2 ticks of that today. So I would like to think that this kind of analysis would help your game. Only you can decide whether it will or not, and whether it's worth it to come on board. Acknowledge the double. Talked about buying for a profit-taking swing to test that 81 zone, and I don't think it will hold today, is Zeke's feeling. Absolutely right. Maybe not today, but I do think we're going to take that out. And aftermarket, you can see that 60 at just how vigorously we pushed off that, way out of bounds. Coming down to take out this low, next support low obviously down here. And for now we've undercut this low and may get another little bounce from here. 2 solid days in a row selling. I made that remark today in the room that, we haven't had a couple of sharp sell days in a row, and it's very possible we could do that. We reference this 1, 2, 3, 4 solid days of selling. Sometimes you just get that. It can't always just be a 1 or a 2 day shuffle and right back. You get sometimes, a trend for 3, 4 days. And here's the pivots that we talked about earlier. You can see these, just a simple system that helps us to understand where pivots might be and where support might come in and where next support and so on. And you could see today we've got a little head fake above it and then back under it. And once that happens and keeps coming, that's been abandoned. And you're looking not necessarily here first, but targets in between. And then if you get here, you want to, especially on a timing trade, make sure you're paid. So Izzy signing off for E-mini Wizards and for Market Wizards. Hope this analysis has helped you a little bit better understand how we approach the markets. And a reminder, we're not in every trade. We're always in the game analyzing, but we're certainly not going to be in every trade, as I assume you aren't either. All right, be well and have a good one.